Today's lesson is the women who put champagne on the map. Hi, everybody. My name is Roger.
And my name is Helen.
And today we're going to talk about champagne, which is a sparkling kind of wine that comes from France. And we use it to celebrate birthdays and holidays and things like that. Are you a big fan of champagne, Helen?
I'm a very big fan of champagne, but I don't drink it often. I only drink it when there is a special occasion, when it's being offered, for instance, at weddings, sometimes at birthday parties. It's a very special drink because it's a symbol of France. And even though a lot of other countries have tried to produce something like champagne, bubbly wine, it's still not considered champagne because champagne can only come from France.
Exactly. So today, of course, we're going to talk about champagne and where it came from. Of course, it wasn't always used to celebrate New Year and stuff like that. We're going to be talking about some women in France who made champagne popular in various parts of the world outside of France. So let's get to it, everybody. Let's introduce this topic by listening to the first part, and we'll come back to discuss it.
The women who put champagne on the map. I drink it when I'm happy and when I'm sad. Otherwise, I never touch it, unless I'm thirsty. So said Lily Boulanger, one of the most celebrated champagne producers of the 20th century. Boulanger's famous words helped make the bubbly French wine take off in the United States, thus cementing its status as a truly international symbol of luxury. Nevertheless, champagne wasn't always so popular. Indeed, it might never have achieved its current popularity if it had not been for the efforts of Boulanger and two other remarkable women.
大家好，第一部分我们来介绍名词 status。这个字也可以念成 status， 它的意思是社会地位或是身份。例如 ，You shouldn't judge people by their social status。你不应该以人们的社会地位来评断他们。又或者说 ，Gary cares too much about his social status。Gary 太在意他的社会地位了。再来，我们看到名词 luxury， 它的意思是奢华或是奢侈。例如 ，Rich people who are used to luxury will have a hard time if they lose all their money。那些习惯奢侈的有钱人，如果失去财富的话，将会过得很辛苦。另外，补充这个字的形容词 luxurious， L-U-X-U-R-I-O-U-S luxurious， 意思是豪华的或是奢侈的。例如 My flight got cancelled, but the airline offered me a free room at a luxurious hotel. 我的航班被取消了，但航空公司提供我一间豪华饭店的免费房间。又或者说 William wanted to surprise his girlfriend with a luxurious vacation to Indonesia. William 想用奢华的印尼度假之旅给女友一个惊喜。下一个我们看到名词 popularity， 意思是流行、普及或是受欢迎。例如The game's popularity died out after a few months. 这个游戏几个月后就退流行了。或是 Badminton is increasing in popularity in Taiwan. 羽毛球在台湾的流行程度逐渐上升。另外补充这个字的动词 popularize, P-O-P-U-L-A-R-I-Z-E, popularize. 它是使流行、受欢迎或是使普及的意思。例如 Bruce Lee popularized kung fu movies in America. 李小龙让功夫电影在美国大受欢迎。
So we're talking about champagne today, and we start today's lesson with a quote from a champagne producer. She says, I drink it when I'm happy and when I'm sad. Otherwise, I never touch it unless I'm thirsty. So this is a quote by Lily Boulanger, and she is a very famous wine producer or champagne producer. And this quote is meant to be funny because she starts off by saying that she doesn't really drink champagne a lot. She only drinks it when she's happy or when she's sad. So only during special occasions. Otherwise, she never touches it. And then she ends the quote with, unless I'm thirsty, which means that she actually drinks it quite often. So this quote is supposed to be funny, supposed to make us laugh. And it is quite funny.
It is indeed so. She drinks it when she's happy, when she's sad, and when she's thirsty. That means she probably drinks a lot of champagne. So said Lily Bollinger, one of the most celebrated champagne producers of the 20th century, which would be the 1900s. Now, if you're celebrated, that means you're popular and lots of people like you. You could be a celebrated author, for example, if you've written lots of books that people enjoy and read quite often.
Yes, and Bollinger's famous words, that is the quote that we just read, helped make the bubbly French wine take off in the United States, thus cementing its status as a truly international symbol of luxury. So here the phrase bubbly French wine refers to champagne because champagne is exactly that. It's a French wine because it's produced in France and it's bubbly. Something that's bubbly contains a lot of bubbles. So for instance, when you order mineral water, you can have mineral water without bubbles or with bubbles. And bubbly can also be used to describe somebody's personality. You could say that someone has a bubbly personality when that person is happy, lighthearted, and funny.
Right, so bubbly here is being used as an adjective. Sometimes the word bubbly is used as a noun to talk about champagne. I'm going to the liquor store to buy a bottle of bubbly, but that means you're going there to buy a bottle of champagne for some kind of celebration. And yes, indeed, she made bubbly French wine take off in the United States. She made it become popular there, thus, as a result, cementing its status as a truly international symbol of luxury. Okay, so if you cement something, that means you make it firm, you make it guaranteed, and status also could be read status. That just means your position. So in this particular case, champagne had the status or the stature or the position of being an international symbol of luxury. So if you drink champagne, people will think you're pretty cool.
Yes, status has the meaning of position, a position in society or in a specific profession. For instance, I could say that Mercedes-Benz has the status of being a luxury car brand. So here the word luxury means something expensive that you may want and enjoy, but that you don't actually need in life. So if you wanted to buy a Mercedes-Benz, that would be a luxury item because you may really want it, it's expensive, and it might make you happy, but you don't really need a Mercedes-Benz. Normally, you wouldn't need it. You could just go around in a normal car. So anything that's expensive that you don't really need, that only brings you certain higher status in society because people think, oh, look at that person, they might be rich. They must be rich because they're driving that car or wearing those shoes or something like that, something expensive. That's a luxury item.
Right, so we're talking about a symbol of luxury. I should mention here with the word status, we have the term status symbol. If you have something that is expensive and you can show it off to other people, we will say you have a status symbol, like driving an expensive car or drinking expensive wine or wearing an expensive Swiss watch, etc. You get the idea. So indeed, champagne is a symbol of luxury. Nevertheless, champagne wasn't always so popular. So we kind of take it for granted these days that champagne is pretty popular, especially if we want to celebrate something like New Year's Eve or whatever. But it wasn't always the case. Champagne used to be just a regular kind of wine in France among several others.
That's right. Indeed, it might never have achieved its current popularity if it had not been for the efforts of Bollinger and two other remarkable women. So we know now that champagne has a very high status symbol. It's very popular, but it may not have achieved its current popularity if it hadn't been for the efforts of certain women. Popularity is the noun form of popular, and it just means a situation in which a person or a thing is very popular among many people.
And in the sentence, we also have the pattern, if it had not been for someone. Okay, so because of their efforts, we had this result. I could say, for example, if it had not been for you offering me a job at your company, I would still be living homeless under a bridge. So in this particular case, we're talking about the efforts of Bollinger, Lily Bollinger, and two other women. And because because of their efforts, champagne has become popular, and if they had not done these things, champagne would not be the kind of wine it is today. Okay, that brings us to the end of the first part of our lesson for today. Let's listen now to the second part.
The first of these female champions of champagne, Barbe Nicole Clicquot-Ponsardin, was born in 1777 and bravely took over her recently deceased husband's wine company without any business training. In order to boost business, she successfully dodged an export ban to ship champagne to Russia, where the drink had become popular. After finding a market there, though, she came under pressure to produce it much faster.
第二部分我们看到单字 dodge， 它是动词，指的是避开、闪开或是躲避、逃避。例如 The company spokesman dodged several tough questions during the press conference. 该公司发言人在记者会上避开了几个棘手的问题。又或者说 George dodged the snowball that Fred threw at him. George 闪掉 Fred 向他丢来的雪球。下一个我们看到名词 ban， 指的是禁令。举例来说There are usually smoking bans in public areas. 公共区域通常会有吸烟禁令。再举一个例子 New Zealand's government implemented an export ban on livestock shipping in 2023. 纽西兰政府在2023年实施海运活牲畜出口禁令。另外，这个字也可以直接当作动词使用。例如 The country banned the sale of whale meat. 该国禁止贩售鲸鱼肉。最后一个例子The apartment building decided to ban pets. 那栋公寓大楼决议禁止养宠物。
So in the last part, we mentioned that the popularity of champagne can be due to 3 women. One of them was Bollinger. Now, who is the other woman? Well, the first of these female champions of champagne, Barbe Nicole Clicquot-Ponsardin, was born in 1777 and bravely took over her recently deceased husband's wine company without any business training. So the first of these 3 female champions of champagne. Here, champion is being used as somebody who strongly supports or fights for something, for a cause or for a particular object. For instance, we can say that Martin Luther King was a champion of civil rights. That person fought a lot for civil rights. So champion, as we normally would know it, means a person who wins first prize in a competition. But another meaning of champion, which is being used here, is somebody who fights for, work towards a particular goal. And here, Ponsardin, who is one of the female champions of champagne, or somebody who was fighting for the popularity of champagne. She was born in 1777, and she took over her recently deceased husband's wine company.
Exactly. I should mention here the author is cleverly using the word champion with the word champagne because they're very similar to each other. We're describing them as champions of champagne, people who have made champagne popular for the rest of us. We also have the term in the sentence to take over. That just means you assume control of something. A lot of times, of course, businesses are run by a certain person, and then when that person retires, the son or the daughter takes over the company. They assume control of it. And she took over the control of the company because her husband died recently. That's what deceased here means. He recently passed away. It's her recently deceased husband's wine company, and she took it over even though she didn't have any business training. So I suppose some of the other people who worked in the company kind of helped her along as she took over the company.
Right, and I would add that the word deceased, it does mean dead, but it's a more elegant way to say dead. So it would sound strange to say her recently dead husband, that it would sound a little bit impolite. So deceased is a more polite form to refer to somebody who has died. So anyway, Ponsardin took over her recently deceased husband's wine company, even though she had no experience in taking care of business and doing business. And in order to boost business, she successfully dodged an export ban to ship champagne to Russia, where the drink had become popular. So the first thing she had to do after taking over the business was to boost business. When you boost something, you help it increase. You help it become more popular, more successful. So she wanted her business to become more successful, to make more money. So that's what happens when you boost something.
Exactly. And what she wanted to do was sell champagne to Russia, where the drink had become popular. But in order to do that, she had to dodge an export ban. Now, a ban is a restriction usually imposed by a government where they say something is not allowed. You cannot use this thing. We have banned books, for example, or banned substances that people cannot use in a society where they are banned. And in this particular case, the French government must have said, nope, you cannot sell champagne to Russia. We don't like them. So you cannot sell champagne to those bad Russians. But she dodged that export ban. She got around it. To dodge something means to avoid being hit by something. Like in school, of course, we play dodgeball, where somebody tries to hit you with the ball and you get out of the way so that you do not get hit by the ball.
Right. So you could physically dodge something like a ball, or you could figuratively dodge something like the law, and you would do it in a dishonest way. So some common phrases would be to dodge taxes. That's when you avoid paying taxes, but in an illegal way. Or you could dodge the draft. That's when some young man tries to get away from going into the army, even though they're supposed to, by making claims like they're sick or they go abroad or something like that.
And after finding a market there, though, she came under pressure to produce it much faster. So if you find a market someplace, that means you find a place where the people are willing to buy your product or service. So she found a market there. The Russians liked that champagne, so she became under pressure. If you're under pressure, that means you have a lot of pressure. People want you to do something, and you feel that pressure. It can be quite stressful. And so she thought, I've got to figure out a way to produce more champagne for those thirsty Russians. You know, you can't drink vodka all day long. You know, sometimes you have to mix things up and drink other things, and the Russians were willing to try something different. Okay, that brings us to the end of the second part of our lesson. Let's move on now to the third part.
To do this, she developed a revolutionary system for clearing champagne of sediments, making it not only faster to produce, but also more clear. Her system, known as riddling, remains an important part of the champagne making process to this day.
So in the last section, we mentioned that Barbe Nicole Clicquot-Ponsardin was able to export wine or champagne to the Russian market, and as a result, she came under pressure to produce champagne much faster. So how was she going to do this? Well, in order to do this, she developed a revolutionary system for clearing champagne of sediments, making it not only faster to produce, but also more clear. So the method or the system that she developed was considered revolutionary. Something that's revolutionary is new, and it completely changes the way that something is done from the way that it was done before. So we could say in a modern context that AI is a revolutionary technology because it changes the way we do things.
Or maybe you're a pharmaceutical company and you can produce a revolutionary new drug. And here she developed a revolutionary system for clearing champagne of sediments. Now, sediments are things that settle to the bottom of a bottle in this case. So if you clear something of something, you just get rid of that thing. And in this particular case, she wanted to get rid of those sediments. And because she was able to do that, it made it not only faster to produce the champagne, but it also made the champagne more clear, and therefore the market probably could get even bigger than that.
Right, and her system, known as riddling, so riddling is the system of clearing champagne of sediments, remains an important part of the champagne making process to this day. So in other words, Barbe Nicole Clicquot-Ponsardin came up with a technique called riddling to get rid of sediments from the champagne bottles that settle at the bottom of the bottle. And this method remains a very important part of the champagne making process even today.
And we'll continue talking about champagne in our program next time, but now it's time to hear from our Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第一部分的最后一句写道，事实上若不是伯兰爵与其他2位了不起的女性的努力，她可能永远不会达到目前受欢迎的程度。那文中是用到It might never have achieved 什么什么 if it had not been for 点点点点点来表达，若不是什么什么，它可能永远不会达到点点点点这样子。好，那我们来看这个句型好了，我们可以用主词加上 could、would 或是 might 加 have 加 pp 加上 if it had not been for 加名词，这样的句型是表达如果没有什么，要不是什么什么。那这是用来表达与过去事实相反的假设情况，表达说当时要不是点点点，如果当时没有点点点的话就怎么样怎么样。好，那么假设句的动词我们是要用过去完成式 had not been 之后接 for 加名词，而主要子句我们则是用could, would, might 去加 have 加 pp。 好，举例来说 The kid could have fallen into the river if it hadn't been for his help. 如果没有他帮忙，那个小孩可能会掉进河里。好，那我们也补充一下，假设句 if it had not been for 加名词也可以摆在主要子句的前方。那这时候如果我们把 if 省略，然后把助动词 had 移到句首，会形成倒装，变成had it not been for 加名词。所以像刚刚我们造的例句也可以把它改成 had it not been for his help, the kid could have fallen into the river. 好，那么接着我们现在如果是要表达与现在事实相反的假设情况时，假设句的时态是用过去式动词 were， 那么主要子句则是用 would, could 或是 might 去加原形动词，所以这个句型就会是主词加上 could, would, might加上原形动词，再加 if it were not for 加名词。举例来说 Henry would quit the job if it were not for the good pay and benefits. 要不是有高薪与福利 Henry 就会把工作辞掉了。好，那同样的这个假设句 if it were not for 加名词也可以摆到主要子句的前方。那这时候如果我们把 if 省略，再把 be 动词 were 移到句首形成倒装，就会变成 were it not for 加名词。所以像刚刚造的例句也可以改成 Were it not for the good pay and benefits, Henry would quit the job. 好，那么以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天单字吧。
Status. Frances was proud of her status as the president of a major company. Luxury. A stay in a 5-star hotel is the height of luxury. Popularity. The singer's popularity increased after she released her latest album. Boost. Listening to cheerful music can boost your mood. Dodge. The dog dodged the car as it sped down the street. Ban. The athlete received a 1-year ban from competing for cheating. Revolutionary. The professor's revolutionary ideas had a major impact on his field of study.
Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you enjoy reading along with us. I am Helen.
I am Roger.
See you next time.